Hey 302, I'm Jackie Ferris. This week we are at the Delaware Art Museum where we're learning all about a new exhibit called Posing Beauty in African American Culture. Plus we're finding out exactly what pre-Raphaelite art is. Get ready to brush up on all your culture. The 302 is headed your way. Hey 302, I'm Jackie Ferris. We're at the Delaware Art Museum and we're going to talk a little bit about a new exhibition called Posing Beauty in African American Culture. But there is so much more here to see and to do, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit more. I'm joined by Heather Campbell-Coyle, who's going to tell us all about the exhibit and some of the unique things that you might not have known about the Delaware Art Museum. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jackie.
Let's talk a little bit first about, the treasure, the true treasure that a lot of people may not know, that you guys have the largest collection of pre-Raphaelite art outside of the United Kingdom. What exactly does that mean?
So the Delaware Art Museum has this extraordinary collection of British pre-Raphaelite art, primarily paintings, but also some decorative arts. So this is art that was made in the 1840s, 1850s, and a little bit later into the 19th century by British artists. But they were called themselves pre-Raphaelites. They named themselves because they were inspired by the art that came before Raphael, the Renaissance painter Raphael. So they're inspired by medieval art and by early Renaissance art. And they are, like many young artists, they were very young at the time, that they named themselves and got together, they were rebelling against what was happening in the art scene in England. They were rebelling against the kind of subject matter, this very sentimental Victorian subject matter, and also the way that artists were handling paint at the time, the way people were making their art. So they were sort of radical in style. It's kind of hard to look at these beautiful paintings now and imagine that in their day they were rebellious and radical, but they really were.
So we're talking about, even in the style, of it being very precise versus something that's a little more free-flowing.
Yes, they absolutely, particularly in their early work, are using this incredibly meticulous brushwork and these bright, vibrant colors that were kind of new in the art world at that moment. The painting style that was popular was looser, more painterly, as they would say.
Is there one piece that you think really kind of showcases the genre? Is that what you would call it as a genre? I know they do that with music, but...
Sure. So we have several wonderful examples of pre-Raphaelite painting here, including Found, which is an early painting by Dante Gabriel Rossetti, where he is showing a scene of contemporary city life. It is actually a scene where a young man from the country brings his calf to market, and when he arrives, he recognizes his sort of former, the woman he probably had a crush on in their small town, and she's come to the city and she's become a fallen woman. And this is all a story of what was then contemporary life during the Industrial Revolution, people moving out of the countryside into cities and sort of the dangers that might happen. And this subject matter was probably a bit racy in its day, so that's one of the early pieces. But really what the Bancroft collection, which is the Delaware Art Museum's collection of pre-Raphaelite art, is strongest in is later work by Rossetti, including these gorgeous paintings of red-haired stunners. So we have beautiful works like Veronica Veronese, which just are lusciously painted and absolutely gorgeous. And these are the works that really were some of the most enticing and interesting to the collector, Samuel Bancroft, who put the collection together.
Now I know whenever you come, you can sit in this really comfortable these chairs, and just kind of absorb it, because the light, the way you have them displayed, it's a beautiful thing that you really should take time to take in.
Yes, it's a nice treat that the furniture in our Pre-Raphaelite galleries, much of it is something you can sit in, so you can get a sense of how people lived in the spaces with these gorgeous paintings and beautiful, works of art.
Let's talk a little bit about the museum itself. It was established in the honor of another artist, is that right?
Yes, so the Delaware Art Museum was founded in 1912 after the death the previous year of Howard Pyle. Howard Pyle was a Wilmington-based illustrator. He was extremely successful as an illustrator of books and magazines that people looked at nationally and even internationally. So Pyle was making lots and lots of illustrations. They're being seen by many Americans, but he's headquartered here in Wilmington. He's also teaching a generation of illustrators here in Wilmington, including N.C. Wyeth, the father of Andrew Wyeth, and Frank Schoonover, and other artists who were really important in the founding of this museum. So when Pyle dies, it's early and unexpected. He's in his 50s, and the community comes together and they purchase works from his widow. And those are the first works that would be of the collection that is now the Delaware Art Museum. And we didn't even have a home for years. We showed at the public library, we showed at the Hotel DuPont, until 1935, when the Bancroft bequest brought us not only the Pre-Raphaelite art, but also the land where the museum building would be constructed in the 1930s.
And when you talk about Pyle, he had a fan in Van Gogh. Can you tell us that story?
Sure. So supposedly Van Gogh writes to, I believe it's to his brother, that he is just awed by the work of Howard Pyle that he's seeing, because of course, as an illustrator, Pyle's work appearing in these magazines would travel transatlantically. European artists could see the work of American illustrators, and Americans could see the work of European artists, mostly in print. It's a whole lot easier to see the work in print. So Pyle was among the American artists who Van Gogh would have had easy access to.
Alrighty, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back at the Delaware Art Museum.
Hi, I'm Jan, and I'm the owner of the Delaware store, and I'm haunted by the 302.
Welcome back. We're at the Delaware Art Museum talking about a new exhibit that's just breathtaking. It's called Posing Beauty in African American Culture, and I'm joined by Heather Campbell Coyle to tell us a little bit about it. So what can we expect when we come to see this exhibition?
So this exhibition is huge. It is about 104 works. They're all photographically based, by which I mean most of them are photographs. Some of them are also video. So we have photos, video, and some assemblages that are put together with photography.
So it's really going to be kind of a timeline. It's not just one era. It really spans a number of years.
Yes, this exhibition goes from the 1890s through, I believe, 2016. So very recent to very old, and it has black and white and color. It has artists kind of establishing the idea of what is Black beauty? What does it mean to be Black and beautiful in different periods? But then it also has contemporary artists who are really critiquing those ideas of beauty.
Can you talk to me a little bit about some of the artists that you're most excited about?
Sure. So I love history of photography. I love black and white photography. So it's exciting to have the work of Charles Teeny Harris in the show. There's a wonderful selection of his images. He was a Pittsburgh-based portrait photographer, active in the 1930s, and these works really show what life was like, and it's not just any people, it's often his family and friends, which is kind of exciting to see. These images of the emerging Black middle class in the 1930s. It's not the Harlem Renaissance because they're in Pittsburgh, but it's the same moment in history. We also have the work of John Mosley, who is who's based in Atlantic City and doing many images on Chicken Bone Beach there of the African American beauty queens posing there that are really exciting as well. And then, let's see, there's great work from the 1960s and 1970s. The cover image that you've been seeing all around town is Ken Ramsey's image of Susan Davis as a model. She is bald, and that is gorgeous, but that was surprising for it to be considered beautiful back in the 1970s when that image was made. There's also a great sort of, I like to pair it with the Ernest Withers image of Isaac Hayes in his studio, where you see him in his glorious, attractive self, and also in his space, his very up to the minute and now very kind of period looking space at Stax Records.
Now, when you look at the collection as a whole, it's not just artists. You mentioned a model, it's fashion, it's advertising, and you do have a copy of the poster or the book that you had mentioned.
Yes. So this exhibition actually came out of a book publication by Deborah Willis. She is a professor of photography and a practicing photographer in New York. And she put together this amazing book that does a survey of this work, of these various themes.
So how is it that it goes from a book to an exhibit?
Sure, I'm sure she was thinking about them both at the same time, but the book came out, and then gathering work from photographers and museums and private collectors who are lending work to put together this big exhibition, which has traveled across the U.S. It's been to several places. So we're excited to bring it here to our community.
So how long is the exhibition going to be here?
Sure. The exhibition opens here in October and is here through January.
Can you talk about admission a little bit? Are there special tickets that we need to see this exhibition?
The exhibition does not have a separate ticket. It is free with admission here, and the Delaware Art Museum is open Wednesday through Sunday. We're closed Mondays and Tuesdays. We're open 10 to 4, except on Thursdays when we're open 10 to 8. We are free on Thursday evening after 4, and we are free on Sunday from 10 to 4.
Okay, so there's certainly a lot to see when you come here, in addition to this exhibition and the other art that we talked about. Is there, a certain time that you think how long people should set aside to really do the exhibitions here justice?
Usually people spend a couple of hours here, depending on your interest. With a show this big, I think you could spend an hour in it easily, particularly if you're interested in photography.
Sure, and there are so many other things. We could look at one exhibition, go outside if you brought a sack lunch, come in. So you have another exhibition by Allentown artist Angela Fraley?
Yes, Angela Fraley is an artist who we have commissioned to do a series of paintings, and I believe some ceramics as well, that are inspired by works in our collection. Fraley is a feminist artist. She's interested in the stories of women in the paintings, as well as the stories of artists and illustrators who are women, and what that was like in the historical past. So she's been exploring and researching our collection over the past couple of years, and her show will open in the beginning of October and run through next April.
Well, there's so much to see and do here. I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tony and I love the 302.
Welcome back. We're at the Delaware Art Museum. We're talking about all of the great things you can do and see whenever you come here, but there's one thing that's very important in any organization, especially a museum, and that is your community engagement. So we're going to talk a little bit about the strategic direction of the museum, and we're joined by Sarah Lynn Rosenfield to talk a little bit more about it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So how is it that the museum wants to engage the community?
Well, a couple years ago, the museum embarked on a new strategic plan, and as we were working out where we wanted to go, thinking of the direction that we wanted to be in, we thought a lot about how we wanted to engage with the community. So two of the things that we've been doing is that we have been making ourselves more civically engaged as an organization, being present out in the community, doing programming, establishing different relationships locally. And we've also been trying to serve as a vital hub here on site at the museum. And what we mean by that is that we want to be a place where people from all over the community can come together, have a good time, be social, but then also come together for a dialogue around works of art.
Now, I know that you guys have partnerships with different organizations and things. How is that working in terms of that engagement?
So we've been working on establishing different partnerships, everything from working with different schools on multiple visit programs to different public programs and festivals, and partnerships with colleges and universities as well with some of our other programming in the galleries. And a part of these programs is being able to strengthen what we do here and building a lot of relevance out in the community through those partnerships so that we're doing things that are of interest to the people who we want to serve.
Now, when we talk about an exhibit such as Posing Beauty, what kinds of activities or things that are you doing to kind of bring people in and engage them with the exhibit?
So we have really great program to go along with Posing Beauty. It's called Picturing Beauty, Celebrating Real Women, and it's funded by the Delaware Humanities. It is in partnership with the YWCA, Girls Inc., and One Village Alliance, and we also have some individuals that we're working with from University of Delaware. It's a day-long event on Sunday, November 17th, and it's really intended for intergenerational audiences. And what we're doing at this event is we are working to empower young girls and build self-esteem through the arts. A part of this day will feature Deborah Willis, who is the curator of Posing Beauty, and she will be in conversation with Angela Fraley, who is the exhibiting artist that will be alongside. Angela Fraley, her studio's in Allentown, so she's local. And other parts of this day will include poetry, performances, and there will also be art activities.
So do you have to register for this or just show up or?
Sure, so people can find more information online at delart.org, and there you'll see how you can register for the event. It is free, so it is open to the public.
Now, this isn't the only outreach with the community that you do. You also have another program called Staying Focused, is that right?
Well, it's actually a community program as a part of our Connected series, and the organization, the photography group, is called Stay Focused.
Okay.
And they've proposed a wonderful program where they are going to work with middle schoolers in Wilmington to provide them with basic photography training with this that goes along with the exhibit. And one of the questions that they're going to ask is, what is beauty? And they're going to assign the middle schoolers to go out into their communities and capture what they think beauty is in the community. Then the photography will be on exhibit at the museum once this project is complete.
Now, I know that there's so much more that you guys do. You have artist studios, you have a kids corner, there's rotating programs and outreach. So if someone wants to know what's happening this month or what's happening when my kids are visiting or et cetera, where do they go to find out more information?
Sure, so they can go to our website at delart.org to find more information on all of our programming and calendar of events. We certainly have a lot every month. They can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter that goes out through email. We also have emails that specifically target families. So if you're interested in just family events, you can learn about that through a monthly newsletter. We also have ones that talk about more than just our family programs, that talk about our performances.
And just keep you up to date on everything that's happening here.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, Sarah Lynn, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. For more information on Posing Beauty or any of the exhibits here at the Delaware Art Museum, go to delart.org. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. We'll see you on the 302.